Hello students, welcome to another week's topic. This week's topic is fishery. Remember last week I discussed with you farm animal diseases, in which I look at the meaning of farm animal disease, the causes and the transmission of diseases in farm animals. But today, like I said, I'm looking at fishery, in which I look at the meaning of fish farming, and then I'll go ahead to classify fish based on their habitats.
Fish. What is actually a fish? A fish is an aquatic animal that lives in water bodies such as ponds, lakes, or rivers. They possess fins which enable them to move or swim. Their body temperature also varies with that of the environment, hence they are referred to as cool-blooded animals. Fish identification. Here I have catfish. This is called moonfish. This is tilapia fish. Again, let us see other aquatic animals that live with the fish. These are called prawns. We have toad and frogs that are also aquatic animals. We have lobsters and so on.
The fish. In almost all the places where you can find water, be it either salt water or fresh water, you can also find fish. There are fish of all sorts of sizes, shapes and colors, and yet they all have common characteristics, which you should know. Fish are vertebrates. Their skeleton is made up of bones or cartilage. They are also cold-blooded. Their temperature is not constant, meaning it depends on the water temperature. This fish looks really cold. All fish have extremities in the form of fins, as you can see in this image. Dorsal fins, caudal fins, which is the tail, pectoral fins, pelvic fins, and anal fin. Another really important fact that one must remember is that almost all fish are covered in scales. The gills are the fish's respiratory organ. The respiration process is very interesting. Water enters through the mouth and goes to the gills. The gills then collect the oxygen and distribute it to the rest of the body through the blood vessels. Then the water is expelled through an opening which can be found in the majority of the fish behind their head, which is called the gill flap. Fish reproduce by laying eggs. Therefore, they are oviparous, and their fertilization can be either external or internal. Some fish are excellent fathers, like this one who protects his babies inside his mouth. He looks as if he's going to eat them, but he's actually protecting them. Look at that! Isn't it amazing? Almost all fish are carnivores, eating other fish smaller than themselves, and therefore they each have different ways of defending themselves. The most common action to take is when feeling threatened is to escape as fast as possible, as in to swim away rapidly. But there are other ways of defending themselves that are much more original. For example, this clownfish finds hiding himself among these venomous enemies. Others imitate or camouflage themselves with their background by obtaining the color and shape of the plants and rocks around them. Can you see this fish in the image? Oh, well, there was indeed a fish, and a very hungry one. Look at this. This is the largest fish in the world, the whale shark. Even though it is called a whale shark, you must remember it is actually a shark, not a whale. Whales are not fish. They are aquatic animals, like these friendly dolphins. So never forget, whales and dolphins are not fish, but mammals. Now I have a very important fact you must always remember. It's extremely important. As you already know, fish, as well as many other animals, live in the water. Water is essential for life. And for this reason, we must look after it. We must protect it. There are people who dirty nature by throwing rubbish into the rivers and oceans without thinking about their terrible consequences they're causing. Plastics and substances which contaminate the water kill a huge amount of fish. Turtles, dolphins, whales, sharks, and many more die every day because of contamination. Water is a source of life.
Classification of fish. Fish are basically classified into two. We have body morphology and habitat. My emphasis here is going to be on habitat. We have three classifications based on habitat. We have freshwater fish, saltwater fish, and the estuary. Happy viewing.
This illustration shows different kinds of freshwater habitats, such as rivers, streams, lakes, and ponds. Today, I want you to listen really carefully for different kinds of plants and animals that live in the freshwater habitat. Come with me beneath the water and let's take a look at what's under here. Here are some nice-looking rainbow trout. Fish can only live in water, and they breathe underwater using gills on the sides of their bodies. Gills take in oxygen from the water around them. Fish have strong tails that they use for swimming and fins that they use for steering and balance. The rainbow trout is a carnivore. It eats only water animals like insects and other fish, and sometimes shellfish. It even eats some small land animals like mice if it gets the chance, so I'm sure it wouldn't mind a nibble of a rat. Rainbow trout like to live in rivers, but some prefer the deeper water of big lakes. I enjoyed exploring beneath the surface of the water, and now I'm going to rest on a lily pad again. While I'm drying off a bit, let me show you a kind of frog called bullfrog that I can see sitting at the water's edge. Frogs are amphibious, which means they live both in the water and on land. Bullfrogs are the largest kind of frog found in North America, and they can grow more than half a foot long and weigh more than a pound. That's a really big frog. The bullfrog gets its name from the loud, cow-like noise it makes. I bet birds and turtles would be pretty surprised to know that a frog can make such a loud sound. Pretty neat, huh? This bullfrog is resting now, but it will come out to hunt when it gets dark. Bullfrogs eat a lot of different kinds of food. They are carnivores, so they eat small fish, snakes, birds, and insects like this dragonfly that's buzzing about my head. Adult dragonflies are flying insects with long bodies and wings. Dragonflies live around lakes, streams, and other freshwater habitats because they lay their eggs in water. Adult dragonflies eat other insects like mosquitoes, flies, and bees. The dragonfly uses its long wings to hover around in the air where it catches its food. It has to be careful because the bullfrog isn't the only one that likes to eat dragonflies. Birds and turtles like to eat them too. The water is getting a little rough out here. Ah, that's why. Here come some birds that like to eat insects. These are a kind of duck called mallards. Ducks are birds and can live both in and out of water, but it's the water they spend most of their time. Like all birds, ducks like these mallards are covered in feathers. Did you know that ducks' feathers are waterproof? Ducks rub special oil from their tails all over their feathers. Because oil and water don't mix, water drips right off the ducks without getting their feathers wet. Ducks float on the surface of the water and have large webbed feet to help them paddle. They dip their heads under the water and use their beaks, which are called bills, to search for food at the bottom of the lake. Mallards eat grasses and seeds from plants and small animals like insects, worms, snails, frogs, and small fish. Well, We've had a good look around this freshwater habitat, but I have to get off this lily leaf before these ducks knock me off.
Now we're going to learn about another kind of water habitat, a saltwater habitat. Saltwater habitats, as you could guess from their name, contain lots of salt. This means that we can't use salt water for drinking. Would you like to drink a cup of salty water? No, the largest ocean, the Pacific, to show you a bit more about ocean habitats and the plants and animals that live in them. There are plants and animals in nearly every part of the ocean, some in the deep, open waters far from the land, and some in the shallow waters close to the shore. Some animals like turtles, jellyfish, and crabs live closer to the shore where it's shallower and warmer. Some animals like it better near the surface of the water, and others prefer to live down at the very bottom of the ocean and on the deep ocean floor. Many other kinds of animals around a reef. I have found everything from fish and shellfish to octopi and sharks to snails. Fish doesn't swim. It crawls very slowly along the ocean floor using hundreds of tiny tube feet. This starfish's prey includes fish, snails, clams, oysters, and crabs. Here is another animal that lives in salt water. This shellfish is called a lobster. Lobsters live on the ocean floor in openings between rocks. Their hard shell stops most other animals from trying to eat them. Lobsters have many legs that they use for crawling about, and they use antennae on their heads to feel their way along the murky ocean floor. I have to watch out for that lobster's claws. They are called pinchers, and they are very strong. The lobster uses them to defend itself against its prey, and to catch and crush its own food. Lobsters are carnivores. They eat fish, worms, and other shellfish. This is a hammerhead shark. If you take a look, you can see how the hammerhead got its name. Its head is very thick, and it looks like a hammer from above, with an eye and a nostril on each end. The hammerhead shark is a large fish, growing up to 20 feet long and weighing over 500 pounds. Sharks are carnivores. The hammerhead's favorite food is a fish called a ray, but this amazing creature is the biggest animal in the world. It's a blue whale. Blue whale spends all of its time living in deep water, but unlike fish, it can't breathe underwater because it does not have gills. It needs to breathe air just like we do. The blue whale can hold its breath and stay under the water for as long as 30 minutes before eventually coming up for air. It breathes using blowholes on top of its head. Sometimes, when it does come up for air, it breathes out a huge fountain of water from the blowholes.
The coastal area or transitional zone where fresh water from the rivers and streams mixes with the salt water from the oceans is called an estuary. They are sometimes called bay, lagoons, or harbors. The water in this region is called brackish water. This is because the salt water from the sea enters this region by the action of the tide, but it is diluted by the fresh water coming from the streams and rivers. So the water here is neither completely salty nor fresh. Estuaries are home to a variety of organisms like fishes, shellfishes, lobsters, crabs, a wide variety of seabirds, goose, marine worms, and many different reptiles. Sometimes these estuaries are full of dead decaying organisms. They are marshy and the soil is nutrient rich. Estuaries are often called nurseries of the ocean. Can you think why is it so? This is because many fishes lay eggs in the estuaries and the abundant plant protects these eggs, thus nurturing new lives. Do all rivers form estuaries, you might ask? Well, most rivers that connect the sea form estuaries at the mouth. This also depends on the nature of the river, that is, whether the river provides water throughout the year, the source of it, etc. Estuaries have a lot of significance. Considering the environmental aspect, they are breeding and nesting grounds for many organisms. They have ecological significance. They control pollution by filtering and absorbing the waste coming from the rivers and sending clean water into the sea. Apart from this, there are tourist spots. Fishing, boating, and water sports are undertaken in many of these regions.
watching my video. I hope really it was an exciting and interesting topic this week. Bye.